One of the great successes of the Japanese camera industry must be Yashica. In the late 50s, Yashica started to do some fantastic twin lens reflex cameras. They looked very similar to the Rolleiflexes and the Rolleicords, and they have various different names. They started off as Yashica Mat, and then they produced one with a light meter, which was known as the Yashica EM, and this is a later one, which is a Yashica EM. When they refined from that further, they changed the meter and had a CDS meter in with a small battery, and these cameras were produced, I think, up to about 1980, and they were highly thought after. They produced a really high quality image. You obviously use them by looking down through the race viewfinder. You focus on the side. Your aperture and your shutter speed are set here with these two little round buttons, and when you look down you can see your shutter speed and your f-stop. The meter is set here. You take a meter reading by looking at where the arrow is, and then you read off here. There's a scale and you read off, and then you set your shutter and your aperture. If you find one with a non-working meter, I wouldn't be completely panicked out by it, because they can still be used with a separate meter or used completely manually. To use, they are really straightforward. You focus, set shutter and aperture, wind on. By winding on, you are then setting the shutter, and the shutter will then release there. If I take off the case, you open them around the bottom here, open and close. This one hasn't got a film in. I have used this, and it's really good user camera. Film in there, cross here into the empty spool. That spool needs moving from there to there. Make sure you line the arrow up here. As I said, you set the shutter by winding on. The lever has to be in its little home for the shutter to actually operate. You can hear that shutter, which is currently on half a second, is operating really nicely. I'm going to set it a little bit faster. Here it is at 1/60th. Wind on. The maximum shutter speed on this model, I think, is 500th of a second, because it's a leaf shutter. They are incredibly sharp. This is a 3.5 18mm Yashica lens. I love them. They're quite light, very highly practical. There's only one tiny problem with some of them, and that is the gears. They're made from a form of plastic. I think it's a form of nylon, and although they are strong, you can get problems on the gearing, and that can mean that when you look at it, it looks fantastic and can sound fantastic, and the only way of testing it is to actually put a film through. And if you put a film through and find that the spacing of the negatives is not right, that is mainly due to a gearing problem. The way to avoid this gearing problem happening, I was once told, was to make sure that once a month, if you haven't got a film in the camera, take the camera out and just wind it a few times. It's when the camera hasn't been used for a long time that problems arise. You also want to check, and this goes for any twin lens, that it hasn't been dropped, and you can tell quite easily. If it focuses nice and smoothly like this one, it's fine. If it's very stiff focusing, that means it's normally had a knock. The viewfinder, always check that it's nice and clean. This one is super. Visual checks are always good to do on any form of camera. The quality of these is super. Yes, the Rolleiflex is slightly more refined. There is something amazing, I think, about a Rolleiflex, but these are really good workhorses. Prices do vary. When I was first using them, you could sort of pick them up for about 60 to 80 pounds. They easily are going for about 120 and upwards, especially the later 144s. But if you're going to spend that sort of money, absolutely brilliant, but just make sure that you get a camera in good working order.